Welcome to the February 8th Planning Commission. My name is Eric Stevenson, Vice Chair of the Commission. Today I'm sitting in for Chairman Davis, who's absent. To my right is Director Chris Ryer, serving as Secretary of the Commission. Mr. Secretary, would you please call roll?
Robin Allen is not present. Marcia Collins.
Present.
Eric Costello is not present. Talib Horn.
Present.
Claudia Jolin is not present. Doug McCoach.
Present.
Justin Williams.
Sean Burnett stepping in for Justin Williams.
Thank you. Eric Stevenson.
Present.
And John Davis is not present today.
Councilman just came in.
Councilman. Councilman Eric Costello just arrived.
All right.
So we have a quorum.
Excellent. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review, and are there any questions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda. First, we've got the CIP transfers. Mr. Tiso, was the date of the CIP meeting?
What's that?
Good question. I'm having IT problems, so I didn't get to preview it. Once it was loaded, it hopefully is on tab number 3 on Wix.
It says board meeting, January 7th.
Okay, so it's not clickable.
I've got it here, okay. The February 7th Board of Estimates meeting, there were 8 items. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on the consent agenda, we've got the revised final plan, final design approval, York and Orkney Road PUD number 79, 5824 Clear Spring Road fence. Unless there's any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Thank you. Next on the consent agenda, item number 5, City Council Bill 24-0476, partial release of right-of-way for municipal utilities and services through the residents at Roland Heights in the 7th District. Unless there's any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Collins?
So we're releasing a partial release of right-of-way, and so that this construction can continue. I was a little confused by the summary. So it's just, they're saying it's a subsurface utility right-of-way. Well, does that mean the utilities are no longer there, or they will continue to be there? There'll be no structures built above them?
It's my understanding in speaking with DOT staff that those are to be abandoned and relocated elsewhere along the streets. And I know it's confusing because I had to be walked through it as well. The zigzag shape that you see, if you were to superimpose that on the satellite, doesn't align with the street. So they're abandoning parts that would be under properties, and they're going to realign it with the street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I think that's an excellent question, and just in terms of timing, is there any reason that we're doing this before the utilities are relocated?
I mean, the homes are there, so I think this is a cleanup action, is the best I can understand it.
Very well. Unless there's any further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. That brings us to our regular agenda. Mr. Secretary?
Yes, want to note that Commissioner Allen has arrived. First item on the regular agenda, City Council Bill number 22-0288, a conditional use zoning conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 3 dwelling units in the R8 zoning district with variances at 2905 Parkwood Avenue in the 7th Councilmatic District. Eric Tiso will present.
Good afternoon, presenting on behalf of Martin French, who is out of the office burning time leading to his well-earned retirement. So this is a conversion for 3 dwelling units. So here's the property highlighted in yellow. It's the third one inboard from the corner, seen from above, looking at the front of it, and from the rear. So this is a property that had been owned by the city. And the reason why this is a 2022 bill is that we had to wait to schedule this because there was a disposition agreement that had limited the property to no more than 2 units. So the purchaser had to negotiate that with HCD, which they were able to successfully do. And so now we're able to carry on with the bill and beat the deadline before this councilmanic session comes to a close later on in the year. So it is, it's been vacant for some time, and we understand that the 2-story rear portion of the building has sustained a lot of damage over the years and is not really solvable. So the proposal in this case is to demo that rear portion, just leaving the main 3-story front part of the building. I can go back just if you want to see for reference. And use it for 3 dwelling units, which will each be 1 bedroom apiece. Since that will be shortening the size of the structure, that triggers a need for a floor area requirement for each of those dwelling units, which will be on the order of 560 square feet. Which is less than the floor space of 750 square feet within the building, and so a variance will be needed for that. Likewise, since there's no possibility of providing the additional 2 parking spaces to serve the additional 2 units, a parking variance is likewise necessary. While those variances may be numerically fairly large, staff is balancing that against the required findings and that getting this empty building that suffered quite a bit of damage back into productive use, making it feasible for redevelopment, in part mitigates those large variances. Continuing, again, you've seen the typical required considerations that we need to look at. We believe that it is reasonable to do that in this case, especially since it was a publicly owned property, so any deterioration in part could be laid at our feet. Again, I covered the variance requirements, so we got a lot area variance as well as a dwelling floor area variance and the parking variance that's needed for this to happen. So we recommend adopting the findings in the staff report, recommending the amendment for the unit size, square footage variance, and then approving.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiso. Any questions from the commission, starting with you, Councilman Costello?
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Commissioner McCoach? Commissioner Horn?
I was just wondering if the community association supported it. I see a letter of support.
You should, yeah, you'll have a letter.
Some fun.
Excellent. Commissioner Burnett?
I had one quick question. You said that the minimum required square footage for a 1-bedroom was 750. Do we have a minimum required square footage for a studio?
No, that is the bottom.
Okay.
In our prior zoning code before 2017, we had what was called efficiency units. And really, the difference between them in some cases could be just 1 wall. And what we saw in a lot of conversions, because I was staffing the BMZA at that time, a lot of folks would ask for an efficiency, because the definition was it was one main living space except for bedrooms and bathrooms that could be separate. You put one wall in there, now you've got a one-bedroom unit. So they'd apply for an efficiency and then just build the wall later. So we figured there's no difference.
That's my only question. Thanks.
Commissioner Collins?
No questions.
Commissioner Allen?
No questions, just if I can say on the record, congratulations to Mr. French, because I wasn't aware he had retired.
Yeah, we're aiming to get him back here for public thanks on the March 7th meeting, so stay tuned.
Great. And I don't have any questions. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public testimony. Any discussion or questions amongst the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Do we have a second?
Second, that's understanding that we're adding an amendment as part of the staff approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Mr. Secretary, would you please call roll?
Robin Allen,
Approve as amended.
Marcia Collins,
Approved?
the Honorable Eric Costello,
Sneezing.
Bless you.
Let me do that again.
Talib
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams, AKA Sean Burnett,
He approves. I approve.
and Eric Stevenson.
Approve.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is City Council Bill number 23-0454, conditional use zoning conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to two dwelling units in the R8 zoning district at 1022 West Landvale Street in the 9th Councilmanic District. Eric Tiso will present.
Good afternoon again. Again, on behalf of Martin, who did the background work for this one. So this is a conversion to two dwelling units. Again, here's the property highlighted in yellow, the second one in from that end. This is a three-story structure. Somewhat similar to the last one. This one was previously owned by HABC as part of a scatter site housing program, and this is part of the Vacants to Values program, I believe. Different to the other one, it had gone vacant. It had previously been two dwelling units years ago, but its use was reset to single-family dwelling status because of the vacancy. But when it was owned by HABC, it was a one-bedroom unit designated for an elderly person on the first floor and had a four-bedroom unit on the upper floors. And it had bounced around between a couple of different owners. So in this particular case, the current owner is going to renovate it and split into two units with a front-back kind of relationship where the main front building, all three floors will be one unit, and the smaller rear portion, all three floors will be one unit. For the zoning code requirements, it meets the lot area requirement. It well meets the individual unit size requirements, but it does not meet the off-street parking requirement, nor can it because it's a landlocked property. Going back to the aerial, what looks like that,
Seller's Mansion.
sorry?
Seller's Mansion.
Yes. And that open space just to the north, as well as that alleyway just to the left of the end building there, is actually an old interblock park. So that is a public-owned parcel. So that alley that is back there is actually part of that parcel. So they're landlocked. For that reason, a parking variance would potentially be required. We believe that it is reasonable and certainly meets the standards better than many conversions that we see. With with the typical requirements basically being met in this case. And so we recommend you adopt our findings in the staff report and approve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiso. Any questions from the commission, starting Commissioner Collins?
I was a little confused by the layout. You said that both units have all 3 floors, so there's a front-back delineation, but I was looking at the layout, and I was confused by where that was happening.
Yeah, the floor plans are a little bit tough to read, and I'm doing this from memory. I couldn't review it this morning because IT was working on my computer, but if I recall correctly, on the first floor towards the back of the unit, there is a opening that is being shown as sealed over, though it's shown, I think, in just dotted lines. But the net result will be that smaller rear portion. All 3 floors will be 1 unit with an entryway on the first floor,
Okay.
some kind of kitchen on the second floor, I think a bedroom on the 3rd floor, if memory serves, and then similarly but bigger, the main front portion of the house, all 3 floors are 1 unit. But there will be basically a solid wall. I think there's a chimney that goes up through the middle of it that is
Gotcha.
where the dividing line is, if memory serves.
Yep, your memory does serve. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Allen?
I don't have a question specific to this, and it doesn't necessarily require an answer right now. I'm not looking for an answer right now, and it might be more appropriately directed to the councilman. But I'm wondering what the status is of that council bill that was presented to us back in the fall
About
about the
eliminating the conversions.
Abundant housing, Bill?
abundant housing bill. Because I'm just curious, because that would mean we would not continue to get.
I will look it up right now, but my best recollection is that it did not yet receive a hearing.
That's correct.
And
And I'm asking because I've been looking it up periodically and couldn't find out anything. So I'm not looking for an answer right now.
Community and economic development.
No, sir. It was actually a committee of the whole, so it'd be up to the president to call for a hearing for the entirety of the council, which has not happened just yet.
Yeah, I'm not looking for an answer
And-
right now. I mean, I guess that is the answer, but I wasn't looking.
My general sense, Commissioner, and this is just my general sense based on the feedback that I've been privy to, so I'm not speaking for any of the other 13 individual council members or the president, is there has been a lot of either opposition or concern related to misunderstanding of the mechanics of the bill that extends pretty far beyond the 11th district. That's not to say that I don't opine as to whether or not the bill is viable mechanically or politically. It's just to say that's the feedback that I've heard.
Thank you. It just raised the question in my mind. Thank you, both.
Any questions on this one, Councilman? Commissioner McCoach? No questions. Commissioner Horn?
No questions.
Commissioner Burnett? No questions. And I don't have any questions on this one. Is there anyone from the public here to testify on this issue? Great. Seeing none, I'll close the public testimony. I'll entertain a motion. Unless there's questions or discussion. Do we have a second? That was a motion by Commissioner Burnett,
Right, second.
a second by Commissioner McCoach. Mr. Secretary?
Robin Allen,
Approve.
Marcia Collins,
Approve.
Eric Costello. Talib Horn,
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams,
Approve.
and Eric Stevenson.
Approve. Thank you. That brings us to agenda item number 8.
Agenda item number 8 is City Council Bill number 24-0478, a rezoning for 1214 through 1224 Holland Street, 21 through 23 South Carey Street, and 14 South Stockton Street in the 9th Councilmatic District. Nick Chapin will present.
Sir?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're going to looking at as Director Ryer said, a rezoning request for a group of properties in the Hollands Market neighborhood from R8 to C1. Petitioner and owner is Metropolitan Investment Trust. Planning District is the Southwest Partnership District, and I am the community planner. I'm Nick Chupin. Just to identify the properties that we're looking at here, there's a group of vacant lots on Holland Street, 1214 to 1224. The adjacent two homes on Carey Street, 21 and 23 South Carey, and the larger lot in the middle of the block, 14 South Stockton Street. 1226 Hollands is not included in the first reader. However, we're going to be recommending to amend the bill to include that lot. It's a city-owned vacant property. Here's, you can see a little bit more context. West Baltimore Street is the main commercial corridor, 1 block north. Hollands Market is at the the lower left-hand corner of the image here in the southeast of the subject properties. And Carey Street is a north-south corridor. The aerial shows that Hollands and Stockton properties are vacant lots. As I said, 21 to 23 South Carey are three-story row homes. Character of the area is mostly residential row homes. Some have storefronts, and some larger commercial buildings exist on West Baltimore Street and some of the other larger corridors. This shows a little bit more context of scale. Hollands Market head house is, again, at the lower right-hand part of your screen. And the corner of Carey and Hollands is a former auto mechanic garage, which is currently being redeveloped. The group of row homes on Holland Street were demolished between 2018 and 2020 due to emergency conditions.
Yeah.
The reverse view, you can see across Holland Street. That's the character of the neighborhood. It's three-story row homes, some with storefronts that have neighborhood commercial establishments. Prior to Transform, the entire block was zoned B23 for community commercial use. The current zoning is R8 and C1 for the areas around Hollands Market. That mechanic garage on the corner is C1, and then C1 and C2, a mix on Baltimore Street. And here you can see sort of the overlay of the two.
It's a really cool gas station.
The rezoning in 2017 left a bunch of non-conforming uses on Holland Street. Those storefronts and the garage was remained as a commercial use. Subject properties are within the boundaries of several plans and districts. The Poppleton Urban Renewal Plan identifies this area as a B23 district, aligned with the former zoning designation, which we interpret as supportive of a zoning change to C1 under the present zoning code. The Southwest Impact Investment Area Action Plan has several stated goals that also support the rezoning, including commercial and retail improvement with the intention of attracting and new residents and customers, more investment in housing, and key streetscapes improved, especially West Baltimore Street, Washington Boulevard, Carey Street, and Pratt Street. And then importantly, the Southwest Partnership Vision Plan in 2015 identified the area around Hollands Market, including Holland Street, as a social and economic hub of the Southwest community. This is one of the key geographies in that plan, and the strategies included a market district linking West Baltimore Street with the biopark, bringing back Holland Street as a market street for commercial activity, and increasing connectivity and use of the market, which, as I mentioned earlier, is at a large-scale renovation and set to reopen very soon. Requirements for rezoning are that the commission study the proposed changes in relation to the plan, needs of the city, and the needs of the neighborhood. As required, City Council may approve the rezoning based on a finding that there was either substantial change in the character of the neighborhood or a mistake in the existing zoning classification. Staff believes both to be true in this case. The deterioration and demolition of the properties on Holland Street constitutes a material change in that there's a gap in the continuity of the urban fabric that would be difficult to redevelop at the scale of traditional row homes. And the renovated Holland's Market, 1/2 block away, and several other larger mixed-use projects on Baltimore Street that are in the pipeline indicate that the area is forecasting economic growth in multifamily mixed-use development. The population in Holland's Market neighborhood statistical area declined between 2010 and 2020, even though the number of households actually increased. So it indicates that family size is getting smaller, and housing area is in demand. Housing in the area is in demand, speaking to a need for a diversity of housing types and density. Can also argue that rezoning under R8 under Transform was a mistake because it left non-conforming uses on Holland Street and did not account for the Southwest Vision Plan, which identifies it as a commercial zone. The equity impact, the proposed zoning will have a positive effect on existing patterns of inequality that persist in Baltimore by encouraging investment in an underserved, formerly redlined neighborhood, eliminating vacant and blighted properties, and creating more walkable, pedestrian-friendly environment. The owner of the properties has engaged in both support among the communities, both Holland's Market and the Union Square Associations. Union Square is just across the street on Cary Street, have been notified, as well as the Southwest Partnership. And the properties have been properly posted, including the address at 1226, which we're recommending to be amended. So recommendation, staff recommends to amend, adopt findings, and approve with the following amendment, that we rezone the adjacent unimproved city-owned lot at 1226 Holland Street from R8 to C1. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chupin. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner McCoach?
I just have a few simple questions. It seems to me, going back in time a little bit, that there was a stated objective by the planning department to consolidate our commercial districts, because we had, at one point in time, a lot of scattered site commercial venues, which, you know, may or may not fit appropriately in the neighborhood. But that's sort of ancient history. That's like 15, 20 years ago. To me, what I think is compelling is that there's a Southwest Vision Plan, which actually sort of fills in with our intention of, you know, they have a vision now for what a commercial district would be, which would support this zoning, and that's good. But as I look at this map in particular, and I see the C1 expanding, and I see the sort of a district starting to emerge of the commercial, I find myself wondering about the 5 properties that will continue to be R8 or maybe R9, R8, in between the Holland's Market area and what we're changing. So those guys would be completely isolated as R8. And I just wonder if what this approach, in keeping with the master plan, the Southwest Vision Plan, wouldn't suggest that the block between Stockton and Carrollton wouldn't also benefit from this rezoning. So that's my question, and I open it up for staff or others to respond to.
Yeah, this is a very interesting area. I lived here for 7 years. And the area you're talking about, there are 2 or maybe 3 non-conforming commercial uses in there. Mm-hmm. The site in general had a fire, mm-hmm. and it was vacant. The site, the buildings were torn down, and it's vacant now. So this is, I think, the ultimate development plan is a multifamily building. So that's good in that it increases density by the commercial area.
Yeah.
And then I think just to the east is the Holland's Market, which should reopen this spring.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's an interesting point. It'd be hard to, I mean, to be frank, it's hard to add commercial when Baltimore Street is the commercial street and it has such a high vacancy rate. It's almost, I would argue probably the future of a Baltimore Street is, because it has transit, it's a multifamily future, not a commercial future. So I think if the CHAP planner was here, he's reviewing, much like we did years ago on Eastern Avenue, he's reviewing 6-story residential buildings on Baltimore Street.
Yeah, we got three or four of them in the works,
Yeah.
sort of within 2 blocks in either
Yeah.
direction. Yeah.
Is there a zoning designation that would permit it's basically a stick-over podium residential building here that would still be within a residential zoning designation?
I don't
Should be
think so.
consistent with.
A multifamily category without commercial on the ground floor.
I mean, yes, you could do that
R8.
in residential,
Be like-
absolutely, if it were big enough and met all the requirements. And technically, nothing would be stopping a C1 property from being all residential.
Right.
We've seen cases where because the lot area requirement is lower, meaning more dense, we've had 100% residential developments in C1. And in fact, because C1 does not have a parking requirement, it's even more advantageous on relatively more compact sites because they don't have to worry about parking.
So that's what's driving this preferred zoning designation?
I believe so.
The
Right?
parking,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, if we say then, what I'm hearing is that Baltimore Street is our commercial corridor in that part of town. Southwest has said, we have a, a small area plan that really focuses on developing Holland's Market as a commercial hub off of Baltimore Street. So it just makes entire sense for that area to be residential. Are there unanticipated consequences of changing it to commercial? I mean, what if the developer's plan should change? Because there's nothing in here that says there's a development contract contingent on this.
Right.
What if, because development changes, are we opening up this to something that we cannot anticipate?
Well, the answer is technically yes, because the viewpoint that the commission always has to take is we're changing the district generically. Even though there is a known project, and many times there is, we're really not supposed to weigh that specific project because, as you point out, we can't do contract zoning. We can't say we'll do it only if you do that development. So there is always a risk that something happens, that project goes away, and then whatever is able to be built in that district is what can be built.
That being said, C1 isn't exactly Pandora's box in this particular neighborhood.
This is true. There's not a lot of undesired uses that could come with it.
Okay. Well, I think what I understand to be the proposed use fits perfectly in here. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't basically kicking the can down the road on those adjacent 5 properties, separating this site from the rest of the district.
We may be.
Yeah.
If I can give a little bit of material context behind that, that block is currently all rehabbed recently, and a number of owner-occupied structures. So that block seems to be quite stable, while the block in question, obviously, the result of receivership and a lot of VBNs. So we might be kicking the can pretty far down the road.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll wait for the next comprehensive rezoning.
Which, if we get our way, following the comprehensive plan adoption, you'll be seeing a generalized land use plan every 4 years and a rezoning comprehensively once a year.
Yeah, we
We're
discussed
coming,
that.
we're getting there, you'll see it.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Horn? Thanks, Commissioner McCoach. Commissioner Horn?
No question.
Commissioner Burnett?
No questions.
Commissioner Collins?
No questions.
Commissioner Allen?
None, thank you.
Councilman?
No, thank you.
Just a couple for me. And I think that you touched on these, but could you explain again why the Cary Street properties are included?
The development that is under consideration is sort of incorporates entrances from both sides. So there might be a residential entrance on one side and a retail on the Holland side.
And you mentioned that those are mayor and city council owned?
No, the only one that's mayor and city council owned is 1226 Hollands. The rest are all owned by the same organization, the same,
The applicant presumably?
right, applicant.
And you referenced the Southwest plan. Do we have any documented community support for this bill specifically?
Yeah, documented, I don't know if they've submitted us letters of support, but they have not expressed opposition to me, and they've sort of been in ongoing conversations with what could potentially happen here on both sides, because there's two community organizations here. So.
Cool, and as the community planner, you're in touch with both of them?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Great, thank you. I don't have any further questions. Is there anyone from the public to testify on this one? Sir, can you just please step up, introduce yourself on the microphone.
Paul Genovese, I am a property owner in the area, actually across the street of the Cary properties. And I'm going to apologize up front if any of these questions aren't for this forum. First of all, quite honestly, so the blackened area, what will that be rezoned to in its entirety?
Yeah, C1, which is.
The entirety will be C1?
Yeah.
Okay. As the garage is being restored on that corner of Hollands and South Cary, that's already C1 and will stay C1, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, I don't know if this is for this commission. 21 and 23, at least 21 has one of your nice red placards on it, the red square. Meaning what? That it's already scheduled to be raised, or?
No, sir. In fact, those, a common misconception, that doesn't have anything to do with planned demolition. Those are put there by the fire department to notify the firefighters that the buildings are dangerous and not to enter if
Okay.
there were to be a fire. Oftentimes, those are the buildings that end up being demolished because they're in the worst shape. But
Okay.
it's-
And it's not for this forum to advise what the, whether the plan is to raise 21 and 23?
It's not necessarily for this commission to say, but our understanding is that, one, I believe the applicant is here, but also the planner may be able to speak to that. I think it is the intent to demolish.
It'd be a good idea,
Yeah.
since they're basically in disrepair. The last question I have, number 19, of course, adjacent to 21, let's say has an open-air living area. And ironically, I guess because there's nothing behind the facade, it does not have a red square. So relative to this project, if indeed they raise 21 and 23, they will be adjacent to a property that should be condemned. Do you have any feedback to me on the future of 19, or is this outside the parameters of this hearing?
I can't say specifically, and I could defer to Mr. Chupin, but what I would say, and I'm speculating, so
I understand.
as someone who lives in a similar community with vacant buildings all over the place too, so I appreciate you raising these concerns. I can only hope that this development would improve the situation of that building. In order to demolish the two, they're gonna have to at least stabilize that wall.
Exactly.
So I mean, I can't speak for the specifics of the construction, but I think that would come naturally.
Okay. Commentarily, I mean, it would be a shame if this nice development has a house in disrepair adjacent to it. especially with the garage being already in a process of being restored. So, can I ask you, do you know who I can bring this to?
Yeah, you could talk to your community planner standing right behind you if we find out what the
Right.
status of that vacant building is.
It can be done off the record, that's fine. Thank you for your
Thank you.
address.
I just add a little bit of context. There's going to be a CHAP hearing for architectural significance for 21 and 23 on February 13th. So they're already sort of determining whether or not those properties can be demolished as is part of the plan. So just wanted to add that.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else to testify on this?
I just quickly want to clear up a few questions that came up. Drew Tilden of Rosenberg Martin Greenberg here on behalf of the applicant. So a couple things that came up. I do want to note first, the use is not going to be exclusively residential. There is going to be some non-residential uses. There's space for collaborative workshops, education programs, and mentorship initiatives. So the C1 district is especially appropriate given that proposed use. And then I also want to note that there are some letters of support for this in the file. We've got Holland's Roundhouse in here that I submitted in advance, and then there is also a Union Square letter of support that is forthcoming. If you have any additional questions, just let me know. Oh, and I also want to note, we do not have control of the adjacent property, so it is not within our purview to redevelop it.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Tilden? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else to testify on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chupin. Any discussion amongst the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoach. Do we have a second?
Second, but also, in addition to moving approval, is adopt the findings of fact with the following amendment that 2026 Holland Street be added to the proposed rezoning.
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Chairman Davis would thank you for checking my form. Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary?
Robin Allen,
Approved.
Marcia Collins,
Approve.
Eric Costello,
Approve.
Lee Horn,
Approve.
Doug McCoach,
Approve.
Justin Williams,
Approve.
and Eric Stevenson.
Approve. Thank you, and that brings us to our final agenda item, number 9. Mr. Secretary?
The final item is City Council Bill number 24-0474, the acquisition of property in Block 6990, lots 1 through 7, and Block 6991, lots 1 through 26, and the bed of Woodhouse Avenue in the 1st Councilmatic District. Matt DeSantis will present.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This item is for City Council Bill 23-0474, acquisition of property, specifically within Block 6990, lots 1 through 7, and Block 6991, lots 1 through 26, as well as the bed of Woodhouse Avenue. I'm Matt DeSantis. The petitioner is the City Council at the request of the Department of Real Estate. The property owner of these parcels in question is James G. Robinson. This is located in our outer southeast planning district, of which I am proudly the community planner of. So as I mentioned, this bill is for city acquisition of this real estate for the purpose of laying out or extending a new public road and the widening of Rawls Avenue, as shown in the plat, which we'll get to in a few slides. So here is an aerial of the overall site. You can see the advance. So the area encircled is the subject site, and then the line going up and down is the city-county line. So you can see that the Port of Baltimore, Seagirt and Dundalk Marine Terminals, and the St. Helena community that is split
by the city-county line. So here's zoomed in a little bit more. I think I put the same. So this is the site and the city-county line. So as you can see from the aerial, the site is a unimproved gravel lot that is used as truck storage. So this is just for some context. This aerial is from 2008. You can see, so it's just all, which of these does the pointer? It works sometimes. Or do I point at the middle? It's not working. Well, you can see, so just to the right of the subject site. Yeah, that's okay. I'm not going to do this. We can't have nice I know. So you can see it's all above the baseball diamond. It's all wooded. I'll flip back to, so this is a current, you can see that there is a street and a pathway that extends from Willow Spring Road, and then it dead ends at the city-county line. That is Center Place. That was constructed around 2010. And you can see that it dead ends right at the city-county line. And the ultimate end goal is to extend it. I don't have the dimensions, so that it extends through and connects to Rawls Avenue. So this is a street view. This is from the top of the site, looking west along Riverview. You can see the unimproved gravel lot with trucks and chain link fence, barbed wire, and then residential homes right on the other side of the street. This is from the other end of Riverview Avenue, looking back towards the east. You can see the row homes, and then the truck storage right across the street. And then this is from Rawls. This is from the bottom corner of the site, looking sort of towards the northeast, where Rawls Avenue currently is, and it bends up around the truck yard. And the proposed new street would go pretty much where the entrance driveway is, and it would go straight through across the yard and connect with Center Place. So here's that accompanying plat, and this identifies each of the parcels enumerated by the bill, as well as the bed of Woodhouse Avenue, and it shows the partial widening of Rawls on the diagonal, and then the curving road would be the extension of Center Place. This is obviously not fully developed, detailed construction plans. But this is a conceptual exhibit showing where the improvements would be. So a little bit of background, and I mentioned this in the staff report. Back on September 3rd, 2009, the Planning Commission recommended favorably a City Council Bill 2009-0377, which proposed the acquisition of the same exact parcels as currently identified. So I know that there's a lot of backstory and history to this. I think there's some folks from the neighborhood who are here and can provide some as much historical background as the commission would like to learn about. But there was way back in 09, if not before, there was this proposed road extension to connect ultimately Dundalk Avenue and Broning Highway, Port of Baltimore. That, as was shown on that one aerial image, the county portion of the road was constructed around 2010. My understanding is that there was sort of a last minute Baltimore County reallocation of funding and away from the construction of this completed portion, and so the project was sort of put on hold and has been on hold until now. So the specific proposal, as laid out by the bill, includes the widening of Rawls Avenue and the extension of Center Place to Rawls Avenue, which would provide a direct connection between historic Dundalk and Broning Highway, Port of Baltimore, and sort of the rest of Southeast Baltimore. The construction of this public road would eliminate what currently is a lot of cut-through traffic that's going to and from the port. that currently uses St. Helena's small neighborhood streets. We think a lot about all the truck traffic that the port generates, which is substantial. The port also employs a huge number of people, which generates a lot of employee traffic coming to and from. Unfortunately, much of that vehicle traffic is fed through St. Helena's small neighborhood streets. So one of the outcomes of this very small road project would be the provision of a public roadway that would provide a direct connection that doesn't go sort of through the middle of the neighborhood. So I mentioned the Baltimore County a bunch. This is very much a collaborative effort between Baltimore City government and Baltimore County government. This bill would enable the city, either through private purchase or condemnation, to acquire this real estate. Baltimore County obviously can't take such action because it's outside of their jurisdiction. So Baltimore City, in partnership, is proposing this bill. The overall end result and an idea is that county government would be reimbursing the city for any costs of acquisition, road construction, and maintenance. The idea being that the county will build and then own and maintain this real estate in question. And then just a brief note on the public purpose, which is a required aspect of any city acquisition. It's pretty obvious. The proposed acquisition is for the construction of a public road, which would serve the public in general and the St. Helena community in the city specifically. So both the St. Helena and Dundalk communities have been advocating for this action for many, many years. Moving on to the staff's equity analysis. So in the short term, this bill would enable the city to acquire the land through purchase, this should say, or condemnation. Excuse me. And then in longer term, it would facilitate the construction of this public roadway, which would have beneficial environmental impacts on the neighborhoods. Regarding existing patterns of inequity, the St. Helena community is frequently overlooked since it's it's a neighborhood that's both in the city and in the county. We tend to forget about our neighborhoods that are on the edges of the city. And so as such, investments in public infrastructure tend to be lacking in such neighborhoods. This is a project that's been promised to community residents for at least 15 years, if not longer than that. Regarding community engagement, so again, this bill represents a project with many years of history and strong community support. The commission has been provided several letters of support from some individuals as well as from the St. Helena Community Association. And the staff anticipates no specific impact on staff time or resources. Notification was sent to the St. Helena Community Association and Dundalk Renaissance, as well as to the property owner and the property owner's attorney. The site has also been posted in accordance with commission guidelines, and it was included on our agenda, which has been shared with over 18,000 individuals through Gov Delivery. Staff is recommending approval of the bill. I'm happy to answer any questions as I can. We're also joined by members of the Department of Real Estate and Law, and from the community and Department of Transportation, and some friends from Baltimore County government, if there's any questions that I can't answer myself.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just want to acknowledge Sam O'Neill, who's here from the Office of County Executive Johnny Olszewski Jr., so she is happy and available to answer any questions that commissioners may have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman, and thank you for being here. Does the commission have any questions for Mr. DeSantis before we open it up to our guests?
I'm curious, so is the intended next step if this was to be approved, to transfer the property to the county, or will we do the construction, get reimbursed through the, I'm getting into the specifics here, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand, under whose local regulation are the street specs going to be constructed to?
They would be constructed to city specifications. We have a member of Mr. David Fram from the Department of Transportation is here. If you'd like to add any detail. And regarding to this and other aspects of what I'm going to say, staff's understanding is that generally next steps there is still the possibility of private purchase of the property as that attempt has been made for many years without reciprocity from the property owner. So this bill would enable the city to move forward with condemnation proceedings. So as I mentioned, since the property is in the city, only city government can do that. So the city would acquire the property and through some specific steps, the county would be constructing and then owning and maintaining the land. But the commission might be pleased to have additional information from other city colleagues.
Understood, thank you.
Commissioner Horn?
No questions.
Commissioner McCoach? Commissioner Collins?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Allen?
No, thank you.
Councilman, any further questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I don't have any questions. Thank you very much, Mr. DeSantis. Next, we'll open up the testimony. I guess we can start with any city or county agency representatives that have anything to add. Yes, ma'am, please step up and introduce yourself.
My name is Shirley Gregory. I'm the president of the St. Helena Community Association. I've lived in this community for 28 years. So I'm not like a newcomer. Been there a long time. The Robinson property has been a thorn in the community side for a very long time as well. Not just because of the road wanting to go through, but we've asked him, I want to say probably over 25 years ago, to address his parking lot because it's a dirt lot. There's houses right there. They can't open their windows in the summer. The trucks are always backing in, backing out. They sit in their trucks and run them all night long. There's music playing from the trucks. They're urinating on the parking lot. It's just, I don't want to say men being men, but sort of. Yeah, I mean, they're truck driving. I get it. They come back. Maybe they don't have somewhere to go in their trucks, so they do it out in public. But it's been a really thing that we've been trying to conquer for a long time. And then back in 2010, when this got pulled from the money being allocated to another project, we had asked him again to repave. He was told to repave, but he never paved. So it is still just a dirt lot, and he just doesn't seem to care about the actual community. The other thing is to move forward if the road can go through. That is like huge for our community. If you were to put that picture back up on the corner where he showed you the two roads going around the property. Thank you. Right here. No, back up. This one. I literally sat at this corner down there where the airport grill is, the green building. I sat there for 2 minutes and 75 cars came through in 2 minutes from the Port of Baltimore because they're all getting off for lunch and they're all cutting right through my community. It's like they have nowhere else, and that was just in 2 minutes. I mean, don't know how many it would have been if I'd have stayed longer to count. But I videotaped it and I sent it to my councilman and said, what can we do? You know, so it's a huge problem for us. And I know I probably said huge so many times, but it's really, we need something done and have this small strip to go through. And I think it also might help to connect Canton to us as well, because then it would be a back road for Canton to swing over to Dundalk faster and cut through the city and have the road to nowhere finally go somewhere. So.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gregory. Does the commission have any questions? Thank you. Anyone else that would like to testify on this issue? No? Going once, going twice? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Any deliberation amongst the commission?
It has to be stated that this road leads directly into the center of Dundalk. I can't imagine a more important road than one that would feed the center of the commercial district and then tie back to Baltimore City. It's, it made sense in 2009, and it still makes sense today.
I would appear to agree. Unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Mr. Secretary?
Robin Allen,
Approve.
Marcia Collins,
Approve.
Eric Costello,
Approve.
Lee Horn,
Approve.
Duncan Coach,
Approve.
Justin Williams,
Approve.
Eric Stevenson.
Approve. Thank you, everyone. That concludes today's meeting, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.